The first time I saw a stranger's SUV barreling across my lawn like it was a freeway, I thought I was losing it. But when another car followed, honking at the first to hurry up, I realized this was no hallucination. My private property had somehow become a neighborhood shortcut, and nobody had bothered to ask me. It was like waking up to find your backyard turned into a highway off-ramp. I'd only lived there a few months, so at first, I wondered if I'd missed something. I bought the house because it sat just outside an HOA neighborhood, on its own secluded lot. Privacy was the whole point. No nosy rulemakers telling me what color my mailbox could be. It was perfect until tire tracks started scarring my grass. There was a narrow dirt path at the far end of my property, bordering the HOA community. No pavement, no signs, just trampled weeds. I figured it was an old utility route the previous owner might have used. But then the cars multiplied. Morning, evening, even late at night, headlights swept across my land like a cheap drive-in MOVYE. I'd stand on my porch, baffled, watching drivers wave at me like I was a crossing guard. I tried to shrug it off, thinking it was a GPS glitch. But this wasn't a mistake. They were choosing my land. Things escalated quickly. One evening, I came home to find a car stuck in the mud near my side yard, wheels spinning, flinging dirt like a monster truck show. The driver had the gall to yell, "You should pave this, man. It's way too rough." That's when I knew I was in for a fight. I started asking around. Apparently, the HOA folks thought this dirt strip was a communal access route, despite it being fenced and clearly marked as mine on the property map. A neighbor said, "Oh, everyone's used that path for years. It's faster than going around," as if convenience trumped ownership. It wasn't just trespassing, it was the entitlement. I put up a sign, "Private property, no through traffic." It vanished overnight. I tried cones. They disappeared too. Someone even rearranged them into a smiley face, mocking the idea of boundaries. The breaking point came one Saturday morning. I stepped outside with my coffee and saw a luxury sedan veer wide, tearing through my freshly seeded lawn. Deep ruts scarred the grass. The driver, a woman in tennis gear, didn't even glance back, just sped off, leaving tire marks like a signature. That afternoon, I marched to City Hall and pulled every record on my property. I met with a contractor, measured every inch, and confirmed the truth. That strip was mine. Not public, not shared, not an easement, just mine. I didn't hesitate. I scheduled a metal gate with a keypad lock, nothing fancy, just enough to say, "This isn't a free-for-all." I added reflective tape and a red sign, "Do not enter, private property." The gate went up on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, the neighborhood lost its mind. I came back from a grocery run to find a shiny SUV idling at the gate, horn blaring like a foghorn. The driver, a woman I'll call Lisa, stormed toward me, sunglasses perched, arms crossed like she owned the county. "You need to take this down now," she snapped. "You're blocking our access road. This is illegal." I blinked, torn between disbelief and amusement. "This is my land," I said calmly. "It's not a public road." She scoffed. "Wrong. I'm on the HOA board. We've used this for years. You can't just block it." The entitlement hit me like a wave. I repeated, slower, "This isn't a community road. It's private property." She whipped out her phone and called 911, like I'd committed a felony by locking my own gate. When the cops showed up, they looked confused. I showed one officer my paperwork, apps, deed, everything. He whistled and said, "Well, this is yours." Meanwhile, Lisa argued that her HOA status gave her authority over neighborhood infrastructure. The officer explained, "Ma'am, this isn't infrastructure. It's his lawn." Lisa's face turned red, her voice climbing as she ranted about tradition and community needs. I stood there, arms folded, as the cop laid out property law to a woman who thought HOA membership was a superpower. She finally peeled out, tires squealing, but I knew this wasn't over. People like Lisa don't back down, they regroup. The next morning, I spotted a crowd by the gate, gawking like it was a zoo exhibit. One guy snapped a photo of my no trespassing sign, muttering, "So this is the jerk who thinks he owns the street." I ignored them, but soon found a flyer stuffed in my mailbox. It read, "Neighbor blocks community access with a legal gate," with a blurry photo of me from my porch camera. At the bottom, "Stop the gate bully. Contact the HOA." Lisa had mobilized fast. By noon, flyers were everywhere, stop signs, mailboxes, even a tree on my lot. I caught her on camera at dusk, posting more, even snapping a selfie by the gate like she was at a protest. Things got weirder. A delivery driver showed up, lost, asking how to get through. I explained there was no through road. He grumbled, backed up, and left tire marks on my grass. Then came sabotage. My mailbox dented, trash tossed over my fence, greedy scrawled in chalk on my driveway. It wasn't just Lisa now, she turned the neighborhood against me. Then, another escalation. One night, police lights flashed at my gate. Lisa was back, arguing with a cop. He's blocking access. This was always open. I handed over my documents again. The officer studied them and told her, this is private property. No easement, no public right. Lisa sputtered, but it's been used for years. That makes it public, right? The cop blinked. No, ma'am, that's not how it works. She lingered, pacing, muttering into her phone, but left empty-handed. Days later, I got a certified letter from the HOA announcing a meeting to address my obstruction. I wasn't even in their HOA, yet they were summoning me like a disobedient tenant. I called my friend Tom, a real estate lawyer, who laughed and offered to come along. They think they're the law, he said. Let's bring facts. I compiled my documents, footage of cars tearing up my yard, and Lisa's gate antics. If they wanted to fight, I was ready. At the meeting, the HOA board sat like a jury under fluorescent lights. Lisa, in a floral blouse, smirked like she'd already won. The president, a stern older man, asked me to explain. I stood and said, this land is mine legally, on all maps, with no easement. I've had trespassing, damage, and safety issues, so I installed a gate. Lisa jumped in. That path's been used for decades. It's our shortcut. You're disrupting everyone. I held up my map. Use doesn't override ownership. No easement exists. Tom added, property laws aren't suggestions. You can't claim someone's yard for convenience. The board shifted uncomfortably. One member asked if the HOA had ever maintained a path. Lisa admitted, no, it was just there. Another asked for proof of HOA rights to it. She had none. The president said, we can't regulate private land. Lisa exploded. This isn't over. I'll escalate county, state, whatever. She stormed out. A board member later apologized, admitting Lisa had misled them. I thought it was done, but a week later, a letter arrived from a law firm Lisa's cousin, claiming I was blocking a community easement. It was nonsense. Tom called it laughable and told me not to respond. But I was done reacting. Tom suggested I pitch the story to a local news segment, Your Property, Your Rights. I sent them my EVY densa photos, documents, footage. They called the next day, eager to film. The crew came on Saturday. I walked them through the property, showed the damage, and explained Lisa's overreach. The reporter, Hannah, nailed the narrative, entitled HOA versus Homeowner. The segment aired Monday, titled Homeowner versus HOA, Who Owns the Road? It went viral. My phone blew up with support. Then Lisa called, Leah vying a voicemail. I saw the segment. Things got out of hand. Can we talk? I didn't reply. That night, the HOA sent a letter. They dropped all claims, and Lisa had resigned from the board. Weeks later, a developer offered to buy a strip of my land for a pedestrian trail, no vehicles, no HOA control. I negotiated hard, ensuring no HOA signage. The trail opened months later, a quiet path with benches and lights. I added a sign by my gate, no vehicles beyond this point. Walk if you must, respect if you can. People used it respectfully. Kids even laughed about the gate lady from the news. Peace settled in. The HOA stayed quiet. Neighbors waved again. One brought wine, saying Lisa had been a problem for years. I kept it unopened. The grass grew back, the gate stood firm, and my land was mine. I learned to document everything, stay calm, and let bullies like Lisa unravel themselves. If she's out there, I hope her new neighbors have tall fences.